So, under your active and both passive slips, you need to have the definition written at the top. So, you're just gonna leave room for the definition. Know your definition might not be, you might not take up all that space. Some of you write larger than others. That's why I left space up under there. You need definition. You also need my example, which would be teacher's example. You can write at the bottom, and then you are going to give or write examples yourself. Okay? So, at the top, you should have definition. You should have my example at the bottom, and then your example. So, teacher example, then your example at the bottom. All right, active voice, passive voice. Anybody know what active voice is? Okay, Kevin.
Active voice is what happening now.
Okay, what do you mean by happening now?
It's happening right now.
Okay. And passive would be what?
What happened in the past.
Okay, something that might have happened
Yesterday.
really when you think about active and passive, yes, kind of, sort of, but that's not the completeness of it, okay? Active voice and passive voice, and you will see the difference today. Now, in your books, I think this lesson actually came from the end of the late homecoming, and you were supposed to put it in your interactive notebook, but we never took the time out to kind of go in detail with active voice and passive voice, which we need to, because according to your benchmark, most of you you were given 3 questions on active voice and passive voice, and most of you only got like 1 question right. So that means that was our overall, out of everybody, only 40% passed those 3 questions, which means that more than half of you did not understand what it was. Now, and we need to make sure that we understand it before you get ready to take the milestones. Okay, now, Brianna, you can go ahead and go to the next slide. What is the difference? There's a difference between active voice and passive voice. Next one. The difference is all with what happens with your verb. And you will see that in your examples. Go ahead. And your definitions. All right, now, here's your definition for passive voice. Passive voice is the subject of the sentence, or where the subject of the sentence receives the action. One thing I want you to underline with this definition is the word receives. Here is an example. The essay is being written by the student. Now, if you look at this and you were thinking what you thought about active voice and passive voice before, what would you say this was? Would you say it was active or passive? Be honest, not even looking at this at the top. What would make it passive? Okay, what about it?
It's doing it after, like before.
Okay, so you're saying being is your word that kind of gives it away. Being written. Now, keep in mind the subject of the sentence is the one that is receiving the action. What's our subject first? Essay. Right, and it is receiving the action because what is it doing? Being written. Right. So for my example, you can go ahead and write this sentence. The essay is being written by the student. Let me know when I can go on. In the meantime, Most of you should have a Georgia Collections book at your seat. Open it up to page 7. If you are writing, continue to write. Page 70. 70. Yes.
Page 7.
Page 70. It should be at the end of the late homecoming. All right, now, right, that's what you need. Now, if you look at page 70, it gives you active voice and passive voice, and it even gives you practice and apply, and it shows you how it is used. Now, for your example, you can use, and you need to have at least 2. You can use 2 of these sentences, but you have to be able to identify what is active and what is passive. Okay? Next slide. All right, active voice. Here's the difference. The subject of a sentence with active voice actually performs the action. Okay? So performs needs to be the word that you underline. It actually is performing the action. Now, what is our subject here? Student. Student is performing an action. What is the action being performed? Wrote. That's active. It's performing. If I was to say the student is writing an essay, what would that be? Right. Why? No. What does it have to do? The action is being done to. Right. It's receiving the action. That's why. We're going to look at a comparison in a minute. Now, active voice, the subject does what? The subject does what?
Perform.
Performs. So when you're looking for active voice sentences, if the subject is doing something, if the subject is showing some form of action, it is what?
Perform.
Active voice. If it's showing some kind of action, it would be active voice. For this instance, wrote. If I would have said the dog sat on the porch, what would that be? Active or passive? Active. Sat on the porch. Why? Because the dog is our subject, and what did the dog do? Sat. That is your action verb. It has to be an action verb because it has to perform it. Now, the first thing you're going to have to do when trying to identify whether or not it's active or passive, first thing you need to try to identify is what the subject of the sentence is. And then once you identify what the subject of the sentence is, then you need to see what is being said about the subject. If the subject is doing an action, it's going to be active. If something is being done to the subject, then it is being what? Passive. Right. So, let's look at number 1. If we were to do this with the people of Laos were affected by the Vietnam War. First of all, who are we talking about?
The people of Laos.
Okay, people. And our complete subject would be people of Laos. Okay, what's our verb here? Affected is your verb. Your helping verb is what? What's your helping verb? Word. Right. Affected is our verb. So, is that an action?
Yes.
Okay. Is it an action?
No, it's passive.
Why would it be passive?
Because they were.
It was being done to who?
The people.
There you go.
Say it right. Get out.
All right. Anyway. Number 2.
You shot a bird. Can you cut this stuff out?
I hope so. I really hope so. All right. This weekend. All right. Number 2.
Wait, so number 1.
Bye. Number 2. The war changed their country and their lives forever. What's our subject? War what? Change. Now, so what is that? Active. Active. Right.
Because it changed.
How can you not? Think about this. Active and action go together. They sound the same. Active, action. So if the subject is doing an action or performing an action, it's going to be what? Active. If something is being done to the subject, it is then what? Passive. Right. Raise your hand if you're still confused. Okay, Destiny, this is your sentence. New leaders took harsh action against the Hmong people. What's our subject? Who are we talking about? I said Destiny. This is Destiny. What's your subject? What's your subject of that sentence? Of this sentence? Okay. New leaders took harsh actions against the Hmong people. Who are we talking about? Okay, so leaders is your subject. What did they do? Okay, what did they do? Took. Now, took is an action, right? That's an action verb. So what does that mean? Is this active or passive? That's right. Action is active. So that's going to be active voice. If it said new leaders are taking harsh actions against Hmong people, what would it be? It would be passive, right? Still confused? Action, active. All right, so for your example, you should have 2 sentences that you have labeled active and passive voice within those sentences. So on your foldable, make sure that you label what's active, what's passive. It's supposed to be on your foldable. Now, these foldables, I'm going to take them for a break. This is actually going to be something that you can hold on to and use, because like you saw yesterday on your benchmark, it is one of your standards, and you are going to need to know the difference between active voice and passive voice.
So we wasn't supposed to write our own name?
Yes, you could. As long as you make sure that you identify that, one was active, one was passive. Or identify which examples were active and passive. And when I say that, because sometimes when it's like this, some people write their words across and the sentences run into each other. If you did that, you need to label it whether or not it's active or whether or not it's passive. Turn the, overhead on. Number 2, what's your subject? What is your subject? War is your subject. Did war take action, or was something being done to the war? Did the war take action? Okay, so what did the war do? What was the action there? Change. So does that make that active or passive? Active, right. If something was being done to war, then it would have been passive. But because the war actually did something, light bulb, because the war actually did something, that makes it. Oh, I keep hearing those around the room. Now I'm ready to get out of benchmark all over again, so my school is But no, no. The active means that the subject is doing something, okay? Passive means that something is being done to the subject. Oh, like the ball is being bounced down the road. Would be passive, right? If I said the ball bounced down the road, active, why? No, because the ball is actually showing action after that. Yes, sir.
Wait, so you're saying that if the object is being used,
If the subject, the first thing you have to do is identify the subject. So if your subject is doing an action, if an action is being done by the subject, it becomes an active voice. If something is being done to the subject, then it is being passive voice. Okay, active action. My example that I just gave to Cameron. The ball bounced down the street. Ball is your subject. What did the ball do? Bounced. Bounce means it's active. Right. If I said the ball is being bounced down the street, it's going to be passive because something is happening to the ball. Okay? If I was to say the dog sat on the porch.
Active.
Active. Why? What's your verb? What did it do? Sat. Now, if I said the dog is being walked down the street. Passive. Because what? Something is being done to the dog. Right. Right. Got it?
Yes.
All right. Michael, what does it mean? You say you got the whole thing back when you be out, ticket up, no person. What? Explain.
Okay, passive output. The school buses were fixed by Uber.
Okay. That is going to be what? That's passive.
And like that.
That's not showing action. If you were saying the school buses rolled down the street, then it would be what? Active.
And I
Right.
The trash was cleaned by the janitor.
What is that?
Passive.
Passive, right.
And I got 2 more for active.
What did you get for active?
The boy raped the leaves.
Okay. And what else?
The girl ate the grapes.
Girl, she showed action. She ate. That means that it is active. So now we know what active and passive voice is. So if they send that, show that to you again on a benchmark, we'll know what it is, right? All right. Go ahead. Make sure your name is on. Go ahead. Make sure your name is on it. Please don't get it wrong. Because I promise you, when I was looking at all, I was like, okay, we get good.